Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to have you all with us today. Thank you Thank you to all of you for taking out time today. We know we all have a very busy schedule. Microphones are disabled for everyone's convenience. Please post your questions in the Q&A section or the chat window. We'll take it up during the later slides of the session. Today, what we are going to discuss is something we all are chasing, is to get insights from the data instantly. We all have a lot of data with us with great systems in place, ERPs, CRM systems. Many of us have also implemented BI solutions, analytic systems, but still there are a lot of times where we struggle to get insights when we need them. We need to reach out to somebody to get answers to the questions which we have. Business dynamics are changing. We every day have a different question to answer. To take decisions, sometimes we don't find what we need in the dashboards and reports we have created. What if we have an AI assistant, we can converse in natural language and get instant answers? What if everybody in the organization is data driven without the need to learn BI tools, Python, or advanced Excel? This is what we are going to cover today. Next slide. Agenda for today. So we will start with a brief introduction, followed by the problem which we are talking, what is the challenge in getting insights from the data. Then we'll go through the evolution of chatbots to AI assistants, and then we all know we are living in the world of RAG. We will look at some real world questions that business teams are asking to their data and struggling to get the answers, or it takes time. We will then look at a brief demo of the solution we are preparing to solve this problem, followed by the features and use case of the solution. And then we'll have a Q&A session. Next slide, please. Okay, I am Vineet Arora. I am co-founder and principal consultant at Vismo Systems. We are 9+-year-old company, and during this period, we have built a strong team of 50+ professionals. We work with 100+ customers across the globe. We help them in infra modernization, AI-based automation, and analytics projects. With me today, I have Kaustubh Mishra. He is our analytics and AI consultant. He helps companies get insights from the raw data. And we are joined by Parvinder Singh, who is our cloud and AI architect with deep knowledge on cloud and AI technologies. Let's begin.
Thank you, Vineet sir. Thank you for the introduction. All right, so let's start with a brief overview of how business intelligence and analytics solutions work as of today. So there are various components involved in any analytics solutions, such as a data warehouse, which holds the data pipelines that updates data every new data every day, and then a front-end aspect, which you can build using BI tools such as Tableau, Power BI, or ClickSense, and even like make web apps. And the process generally looks like this. Business gives a list of KPIs and metrics that they want to see on a dashboard to have a 360-degree view. And then the developers builds the dashboard. And if you want to add new metrics to your dashboards, then you have to ask the developers again to make the modifications or give you the data points in an Excel. And this process naturally takes a bit of time. And generally, there's a cost for the delays that this causes. And it delays essentially your decision making and your team's decision making. And we have some examples over here. So if you're from a finance team and you need some quick data points to make a decision on the go, you are limited with the current BI systems if those metrics are not available on the dashboard. So this is just a brief overview of the current business intelligence solutions or analytic solutions, if you have any in your organization. And this is generally how the process looks like. Now, we have a question for you, and this will help us to understand what systems you have in place in your company and understand a better use case for you. So the question should appear on your screen now. I'll request you to take a second to fill that whole question. All right. So generally, every business wants to ask this fundamental question. How do we increase our revenue and how do we decrease our cost? And depending on your business and the kind of products and services that you provide, you will have follow-up questions on the performance of these products or services, whether in international markets or domestic markets. And to get answers to these questions, you have to interact with data and deep dive into it and get your answers. Let's have a look at how you can actually interact with data and what are the tools that are available as of today that we can leverage to interact one-on-one with our data to get the insights really quickly. So here's a brief overview of chatbot-based solutions that we have to our access as of now. So starting with is the virtual assistants that came on in the early 2010s. Assistants like Siri and Google Assistant, which basically had the knowledge base of Google search equivalent. So you ask a question in natural language and you get the results on your phone or on your desktop. And then in the late 2020s, we had very powerful chatbots powered by large language models. And these essentially have the entire internet as their data source. And you basically had more powerful interaction with data. And then using these LLMs, we now have a more advanced system, which is called RAG. And we'll deep dive into RAG as of now. But this is what the chatbot journey looks like so far. Let's deep dive into RAG and see how this helps. So as of RAG today, it allows you to add documents such as PDFs or images or your custom like text notes. And you can use LLMs to ask questions on those documents. So this is what RAG allows you to do, and which is the full form was retrieval augmented generation. And it is very useful for these kind of use cases, and it is very successful in systems and business processes where there's a very heavy dependency on extracting knowledge from documents. But even with RAG, there are certain limitations, such as that we can not properly get answers from structured or like relational databases. It works really well with documents and images, but when your database grows, it starts giving performance issues. And there's also a headache of maintaining a vector database to support these RAG systems. And that's why if you want to build it up to a scale, there's a wall that we hit. There's a threshold point at which RAG systems start to give out performance issues. So that is the quick overview of the chatbot system that we have so far. Now I have another question for you, and it should be on your screen now. I will give you a second to fill that poll question. All right. So different teams have different kind of questions that they want the answers for, right? So in your business, if you have an operations team, they would look for specifics that are going to enhance their decision making, or if they want to get insights about the current operation process. And similarly, if you have a finance team, they'll have a different set of questions. So getting these specific questions answered on the go becomes a challenge with these kind of chatbot systems that we see so far, that we saw in the previous slides. And we need an alternate way to solve this problem so that we have full access and quick access to our data and have more control on our structured databases as well, not just the documents, right? And to reduce the delays of traditional BI systems and to overcome the limitations of the rack systems. The approach that we can take is, suppose that we have an analyst who can quickly go and query, who can quickly look and query like multiple tables and reference like multiple documents and get you the whole picture instantly. So that kind of approach will actually solve most of the team's problems, because that will have the full 360-degree view of your databases and additional documents that you have attached, and it will go and query the data and then get you the information in natural language. And the approach will look something like this. Users can basically ask questions in natural language, and with the help of LLM, we can convert those questions into a query language such as T-SQL or P-SQL, and then run that query on the database, fetch the results instantly right there on the screen. And to give you a taste of this approach, I would request Purinder sir to walk you through a very simple demo of this approach, and we can see this in action right now.
Yeah, thank you, Costa. So let me share my screen. Please just let me know once my screen is visible. You guys can give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay. So for the demo purpose, what we are going to walk you through how you can use LLMs to basically convert the user's questions into queries that can then run on your backend databases. So for this demo purpose, we are going to use a very well-known database called the Northwind sales database. It is used quite a lot in in SQL demos, and we can use the same. So what this database represents is a mid-size import-export company. So we have bunch of tables. Each table is connected to the other with either one-to-many or one-to-one relationship. And it is a great sandbox to test out how we can use LLMs, provide them understanding of the business data, and then ask the LLM to convert user questions into queries. So we're going to ask a bunch of different questions. We have created a very a simple front end where we can see all this in demo. And we'll also look at the backend, see what are the steps that the LLM agent goes through to identify the intent of the user's questions and produce the SQL query on behalf. So to start with, let's ask a very simple question, which any import-export company would ask. So if they want to quickly look up which shipper delivered the most orders, they can just simply send the question to the backend. And if we go back to the backend, we can see the steps that the LLM will go through. So it will try to understand the user's intent and then run those on top of the database. So let's just wait. Let's just give it one quick moment. Okay. Let me quickly restart it. Just
So while it comes back, I mean, it is very common, right? So we have the reports, dashboards with us. But what happens is we all need to know certain questions for which the KPIs are currently not present in dashboards. So it happens every now and then. And what we do is then we reach out to a team member. Okay, give me the data. They go extract the data from the system, prepare Excel files, or you will ask the developer or the analytics team to prepare new KPI in the report and dashboards. So that actually takes a lot of time. So that's the gap we are trying to bridge with the solution.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can begin. So let me just put in the question again. So if I ask which shipper delivered the most order, will pass on this question to the LLM, so it can identify any entries that are there. And we can see here, so what the LLM is basically doing is it is trying to understand the context of our database, see what all columns are present there, what are the different tables that it needs to go through to get the data. And then it will do a back and forth with itself to, first it will generate a SQL query, which it will then go and check whether or not that SQL query is answering the intended question that the user asked. If it finds that yes, the query will answer whatever the user has asked, it will go ahead, extract the data, and then finally it will also, LLM will also use the extracted result and convert them into natural language, which it will then present to the users. So we go through all these steps, and if we go back, we can see that it has answered us with the questions, and then we can start asking it follow-up questions as well. So this was just a very simple question. It just had to do a basic aggregation on the orders table. But if we take it a bit forward, so if we want to test out some complex queries, we can start with the next level of question. So let's say we wanted to query two databases for us, two database tables. So we wanted to check which country placed the most orders. Again, it will go through the orders tables, and then it will also join and bring in data from the customers table to find out the country. And this is basically adding a level of complexity. And we are going to test how it can do joint reasoning plus aggregation. So it needs to do two things. And we can see here that it is going through a bunch of different steps, and then it also provides me with the answers. So you can customize it, the responses accordingly. If you want the answers to be present in a tabular form, you can do that. If you want them to be in pointers form, you can also do that. So where LLM can also help is, let's say I ask a question and I mentioned some, I think I misspell certain words. Yeah. So for example, if I ask it for uh, federal shipping, so if I ask it, okay, what were the top customers, top products that federal shipping, and I misspell the shipping word, shipping, shipped. Since it has access to the database, it can read the entities that are present in the database. It can also go through and identify that, okay, there is a misspelling here. The customer or the user has not entered the correct spelling, and it can do all those corrections on behalf of the user. And we can see in the front end that it automatically corrected the spelling mistake by the user to the correct value, and then ran the SQL query accordingly. How you can also use it is, since you keep asking it questions while you are in the chat session, it will keep on building its context. So if I quickly just open the sidebar, here you'll be able to see that in this particular chat session that I'm having, I have asked it three queries, and it is actively updating the context of the chat. So in the previous question, I asked about a particular shipper. It identified that, and it had saved the value. So the next time, if I don't mention the shipper by name, I'll still be able to ask it questions. So you don't have to worry about typing the exact spelling and the exact name while you are chatting. Okay, so again, these were pretty simple questions, but if we take it one notch forward, maybe we want the agent to perform some calculation based queries, right? If I want to see, okay, what is the average number of orders, or I want to see the total revenue for each product, I can also do that, where it will then create appropriate SQL queries which have calculations built into them and run them on the database. So if I ask it, show me the total revenue by product, we can see on the back end, it will go through and create the SQL queries where it will have the average the total value built into the query, and then we can have a look here as well. So it shows us the list of products with revenue. It also tells that, okay, this is the calculation that I'm using to calculate the total revenue uh, and taking into account the discount provided. So this is how it can perform calculation based queries. Now to you know take it to the next level, I'm going to ask it a pretty long query. There are a bunch of different things that the agent has to perform. So in this particular query, what I'm asking the agent is to calculate the total sales and then also calculate the average line item for each value. It will then rank the top 3 products from each category for me. So bunch of different steps are involved here, and we'll see that finally, once the query has run, it will give us the answer to the question. So here we can see the queries. It is doing quite a bit of back and forth with itself. And finally, it has the answer, which it is now converting into a natural language to present to the user. And here we can see it has given us the entire data as well as some key insights from the data that it has interpreted for us. Now, all this is pretty good. I mean, I can ask questions, I can get back the answers, but you can also take it a step forward. You can also build chart generations directly into it. So if you want the agent to create quick reports for you, which you can then share with your team or with individuals on your team, you can also do that. So we have a quick report section here where it saves all the questions that you have asked in the particular session. And you can ask the agent to create charts for any one of them. So for example, I want to create a chart for total revenue by product. I can ask it to do that. I can tell it, okay, create a chart for me. It will go back, query the database to bring in the updated results from the table and create a chart for me. So on the back, we can see, yeah, it has created the chart, which then we can, we can go full screen. We can pan through the data. And if we want, we can also quickly download it as a PNG to save, to share with our teammates. You also get the data. So if you want the tabular data, you don't want to see the chart, you can have a look at the tabular data, which again, you can expand if there are a lot of items. So what we are doing is in the logic that we have given to it, we have told it that every time a user asks a question, you don't need to give all the details, just give the top 10. So it is limiting all the queries to just 10 entries, but you can increase the number of entries that you want. If you have multiple entries, you can quickly search. So you can look up any particular product and it will highlight those. You can also download it as a CSV. So maybe you want to download it and open it in Excel and I don't know, write some VLOOKUPs or all. You can also do that. So you can quickly just click on download and it will download the extracted data as a CSV onto your file. Then you also have the option to directly run SQL queries. So again, no AI or LLMs involved here. If you are a SQL expert, you can just quickly go write down those SQL queries here and execute it. But I think AI agent, the AI chat part and the quick reports part, it is where we are using LLMs. And you can choose from different models. So you have the option, okay, I want to use OpenAI models. You can do that. If you want to use models from other providers like Meta, Gemini, you can also do that here and define the business context for the LLM. So uh, yeah, so on the backend, you can define the business context. Once you connect it with your DBs, it will automatically bring out the schema of your DB. So all the tables, all the column names, and then you can give it descriptions, a single line description that, okay, this table contains this data, this column contains this data. And the better you define the context of the business data, it will use that context to create better queries, which will then result in the answers. So yeah, this is how you can use LLMs to query your databases and get answers in natural language. One more example is it is not limited to just in English. You can, since we are using LLMs and LLMs are trained to understand multiple different languages, you can also ask it questions in other languages. So I can ask it questions in Hindi, I can ask it questions in French, in German, and it will understand those. So just for an example, if I ask a question in Hindi, it will still understand the context. So here I'm asking for a particular year, uh, last quarter में कितने orders थे. So it will understand that I'm asking it for orders in the last quarter of a year. And since I have defined the business, what do you call the business context, and I've told that for me, the last quarter of any year is from October to December. It will only get me the answers for October and December. If you have if you follow a different quarter design in your organization, maybe the last quarter is from January to March. Again, you can define that in the business context, and anytime you ask it for a particular quarter, it will use that knowledge to create queries accordingly. So just an example, I'll ask it another question. I think I'll ask it in French. I used Google Translate to translate one of my queries to French, and it should be able to run that question. So again, on the backend, we can see that it has understood the context, and it has run the. Okay, so now it is running the query on our database. Again, doing back and forth to see whether the query is generated was correct or not. And once it has the answer, it converts it and gives me the result in English. So you can also customize it. So if you wanted to always answer in whatever language the user is using, again, you can do that. It's an LLM. You can give it instructions to always answer in whatever language the user is using, and it will answer back in the same language. So yeah, I think that's it for the demo, Costa. Back to you. I'm going to stop my sharing.
All right. Thank you, Parvinder. That was a really nice demo. And we do have some questions from the audience, but I think we can take them after the presentation is done. So we'll definitely answer those questions regarding this demo. And I think you have some follow-up questions as well. So please bear with us. I'll take over the screen again. All right. So we do have one more question for you. So it should appear on your screen now. I'll give you a second to fill in the whole question. All right. So even with this approach, when you're giving access to users to have the functionality of LLMs and get the answers, there are certain things that we have to be very cautious about. So like, because our company's data is involved, so we have to be very cautious, like what kind of access do we give LLMs? So we have to restrict any kind of direct access of LLM to the database. We have to make sure that it only generates query and has nothing else to do. We set up proper role-based access as well for our users within the organization, and team-based access, so that only respective persons who is responsible for that data have the access, and nobody from other teams get to see what other teams are doing. And again, as far as the scalability goes, these systems should be able to support multiple databases and large databases, and should have the ability to add documents as well, which you already have in place with RAGs. So these are the few point of concerns that this approach, even if you are building something with this approach, these things should be considered very deeply and should have guardrails in place. And we are working on Cazper, which basically takes care of all of these concerns and also solves the current BI solution problems. And here are a few of features that Cazper offers. So you have the ability to add multiple databases, cloud databases, or on-prem as well. Your CRM systems, it is business aware. So you have the full control of what kind of context you want to give to Cazper so that it understands your business process and the kind of linguistic words you use. Maybe you have certain keywords that you use within your team. So you can put that as a context and it will always be aware and will make sure that it is answered in the specified manner. And you get the answers really quick. So it's near real-time insights. You don't have to wait for the developers to basically fetch that data and build the front end for it. And only then you can see it, or like fetch the Excel file for you. So it basically takes care of that delays as well. And it is self-service. So anyone can basically hop on to these apps and ask questions in natural language very easily. As like I said, you have the options to add multiple databases. So Postgre, SQL Server, Oracle, or if you have like HANA, SAP HANA, which is essentially SQL Server. So you can connect those and have Cazper help you with your data queries. Here you can see basically when you're setting up Cazper, you have the ability to set up single sign-on for your organization. You can add multiple databases, and then you can also invite more users. So, and basically group them as teams so that relevant people have the access that they should have. And Cazper understands your business really well. So if you want it to perform as per your tailored needs, make sure that you put the context properly for each like database or kind of words, like I said, and even in the demo that we saw, you can define something as detailed as what kind of a financial year you follow and what are the important dates within your business, or what are the important metrics in your business that you or something custom calculation as well. So you can define those things so that Cazper already knows when it has to answer and you get the best answer possible. Now I will request Vinny sir to briefly talk about Cazper. And Vinny sir, you can share your screen as well.
I hope my screen is visible. So is my screen visible? Okay, perfect. Okay, I think thank you, Kaustubh and Parvinder. So far, it's been very insightful. So I think if I go, okay. So one question which we normally ask when we look at any new system is, what about the existing systems we have in place? We have already invested in BI. We already have reports and dashboards created. So what will happen if I go for this solution? And the answer is it complements what you have today. So we are not saying that you get away with your Power BI reports or BI reports or any other tool you use or dashboards, because they serve their own purpose, right? I want to see a particular KPI in a particular format. I would keep that dashboard with me. We have the dashboards on the floors, we have in the plants, and there are certain things which will remain as it is. What we are bringing here is another layer. So a tool where you can ask questions which are not answered on that dashboards or reports, or something new you want to know, or you want to give it the flexibility to somebody who is on the field. They want to ask some question to the data, for example. So we are not replacing anything. Cazper enhances what you have today. As we already spoke, so what it gives you ad hoc capability to ask questions. You have, think of it as a colleague. You ask questions and you get answers. And, you keep your dashboard reports as it is. You get faster answers, you get quick decisions, you get to make quick decisions, and it really helps you. Another thing is real-time insights. We can have real-time dashboards and reports, and we all know those things are complex to build, costly to build. So we can have reports, dashboards, which are like T-1 or, refreshed at a particular schedule. And then we have Cazper, where I need to know immediate answer to the question I'm having when I'm in a meeting, or I'm doing some business planning, or I want to, get answer to something which I need right now. So that's what Cazper does. Okay. First of all, thank you for the active participation. I see a lot of questions already. We go and meet a lot of customers day on and day basis, and there are some frequently asked questions which we have already listed. We'll go through them one by one, and then obviously we'll go to the Q&A and chat window to see if something is not answered. So very first question which I get to ask is that you are saying that RAG is not very successful in querying the structured data, and we all know RAG is very powerful. Everybody is using it. It's amazing. So why do you say that? If I request, Parvinder, Kaustav, if you guys can help us solve this puzzle, why not RAG?
Yeah, so with RAGs, like even with the slides I was telling, right? So if you want to query larger databases, these systems that allow RAGs useful basically hit a performance issue. So I will break down that a bit. So in order to use RAG, we have to set up another database that is similar to relational database, but it works differently. So that works really well with documents and images. But if there is a very large relational database, it start to face like a lot of performance challenges, and because of which you don't get the correct result, and sometimes it hallucinates, and basically the answer that you get is not reliable. So that's something RAGs where the RAG system lacks. So it's not reliable when it comes to bigger databases. For documents and PNGs, I think it's really nice. Plus, it doesn't support joins. So in your relational database, you have the ability to use a thing called join. I mean, it may be a bit technical for some people here, but you can basically join multiple tables and reference those to get certain answers in the SQL query. But RAGs basically don't have the power to do that. So you do lack certain functionalities as well in the RAG system. So I would say those two are the major bottlenecks in RAG systems.
Thank you, Kaustav. Okay, the next question which we have is we are concerned about security and privacy. Who is not today? So we all know with AI, there are a lot of concerns. What will happen to my data? It will go outside, and that's probably when we think of ChatGPT, we are a company who has served customer in 9 years. We work with enterprise environments. We have a consulting practice also. So we understand the need of security very well. So when we are working on the solution, the very first thing we wanted to make sure that to be very clear and transparent about data and security. That's one of the major concern when it comes to this kind of systems, especially. So guys, can you help us give some confidence that my data is not going out and it is not used to train the model? I don't want to give my business system database to somebody.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a very good concern to have, because any organization will be very concerned about their data. So you can handle the security issue in two ways. First of all, we can build a system that is hosted in your environment. So it is all yours. You're using the APIs from the LLM APIs from the providers, but you're not giving direct access to the databases. You're using them only to create the query. You're not giving access to the database itself. But the program itself has functions that access the database and runs those queries and get the answers. But there's no direct access to the LLM APIs. And then you have the option to self-host these apps as well. So even if the APIs that you're using, they are used only by you, and you can rest assured that your data is not going directly into any of the LLMs that you would possibly use for these apps. So I think there are two ways we can handle it. We can put some guardrails in the program as well and limit the access, and then self-host to have more control and transparency on these LLM APIs.
Yeah, thank you. Does this solution comply with GDPR and other data protection regulations? So something related to what we just answered. It is important nowadays, to comply with such rules. In India, we will have DPDP. or it's already in effect, then we have GDPR. So there are so many regulations. We work with financial services companies, healthcare companies, so we understand the importance of such regulations. So as Costa mentioned, there are two ways you have with the solution. With Cazper, what you can do, you can go with a BYOC model, bring your own cloud. You can host it with you or in your on premises. That's also possible. So what you can do is the system remains with you. That's one way. Second is if you go for a SaaS model, what we do is we host it on cloud platforms like Microsoft Azure, which already has so many compliance certifications. And as we mentioned already, we take all the due care to ensure that all these compliance requirements are met. Okay, next we already use D365, which has its own AI agent, Copilot. In that case, what additional value does Cazper provide? Govinder?
Yeah, so I take this. So, I mean, not just Dynamics 365, even other BI tools have now started providing the AI chat functionality. So Power BI has it, Tableau has it. I think there are three areas where we have built some functions, some which are not present in these solutions right now. So I think with Copilot, with Dynamics 365, the question is about context, right? So anytime you are doing or chatting with Dynamics Copilot, or for that matter, Tableau or BI, they don't have context of previous messages. So for example, Copilot, at any given time, it can only remember the last 10 messages or last 10 conversations that you have had with the agent. And after 10, it refreshes the context. So that is one area where we have built a larger context window. And there are functions built in to summarize your chat and keep it in store. So you can go back and start your conversation at any time. So that is also one area. So with Dynamics, with BI and Tableau, you don't have your previous chat histories available to you. You can't go back and start your conversation from where you left off previously. Maybe, for example, last week I was asking some questions, and today I want to start my conversation again from that point. With current tools, you can't do that. So we have the ability where we store the chat history. So you just like with Chat GPT on the left, we have a list of all our previous chats. With Casper 2, you will have that option. So you can go back to any of your previous chats and get back. And then with Power BI, there's a question that it's not really natural language with Power BI, right? It's very limited. You have to mention keywords whenever you are asking the question. You have to mention the proper column names. That is not an issue with Casper. So you can, since you are giving it the business context when you are onboarding the product, you're telling it that this is the data. So you don't need to mention the column names or the table names as they are in your database. You can uh, type their synonyms. You can misspell them, and still it will understand that okay, I need to query these tables. I need to query these columns and get the data. And then I think one more drawback is the pagination part, right? So if you are using Dynamics 365 or Copilot, you would have noticed that if you ask it a question in your Dataverse, which is like the database which is used by Dynamics 365, if your Dataverse has large number of items, let's say over 5,000 or over 10,000, and you ask it to query the entire database, in one query, it will never query the entire database. It will only query the first certain elements of the database. So you will not get a full picture of your data. So that is one function where Casper excels. So since it is LLMs are creating the query and then they're passing it on to the SQL engine to run it on the entire database, pagination will never be an issue with Casper. So these are some areas where we have built some additional features which provide additional value over the current products in the market.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I think just to add, we can customize it for our business, right? So I can provide the context. I can define what kind of answers I'm looking for. So I have much more power in my hand. And obviously, then we talked about the security and compliance benefits which we bring into the table.
Yeah.
Okay, the next common question which I get to ask is, we are not using D365. We don't use Salesforce. We don't use, SAP or so on. We have homegrown ERP systems. Many of us have, industry-specific ERP systems. Will Casper work with these systems as well?
Yep. So again, I'll take this one. So we can connect it to these systems as well, to your homegrown ERP solutions. See, any ERP solution is going to be using database on the backend, right? It will need tables to store the data. So two ways we can do that. One is if the ERP system does allow us to access the database directly, we can do that. We can configure the Casper product to connect with your backend data directly and help users query the data. Other ways, if direct database access is not allowed, we can work on, we also do data engineering. So we can work on pipelines, we can create ETL pipelines, which on a regular basis can export the data from your ERP systems and load them into the product for users to query. So just like you would do right now with BI, right? If you are using any BI tools, you would have pipelines in place to already query the data, load it into BI using some middle database. And we can connect to the same database for Casper as well to answer the question. So yeah, we can connect with homegrown tools.
Okay. Thank you, Parvinder. Okay, with this, I will, open the floor for the questions. So I will probably read the questions and then we'll answer them one by one. So the first question is this SAP data? So I think the answer is we were currently using a SQL demo database, but SAP also has a relational database on the backend. So we can connect to SAP as well. Again, by both the means, we can connect directly to the database if it is allowed, or we can do ETLs and bring the data to a, AI database or BI database, if you want to call it, and then connect the Casper to it and let people question. Is that correct answer, guys?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. If anyone having Business Central or cloud having SQL Server database backend and wants to do ad hoc queries, how to solve those? That's a good question. So I think we did talk about the AI with AI agents which are provided by the systems. But if I'm using like Business Central and it is like cloud version, which is a SaaS product, what happens in that case, guys? How will I connect and get the answers? That's from Pijushya. Ajay ji asked previous two questions. Sorry. Do you guys want to answer? Any one of you?
Yeah, Kaustubh?
Sure. Yeah. So thank you, Piyush ji, for your question. And yes, you can basically do your ad hoc queries. And if you have a SQL Server database and that is on-prem, then we can build a solution that brings the data and cleans and takes care of everything. And we can also combine it with the Microsoft Business Central so that you have a full database that has everything in it. And then you can, on top of it, you can touch Casper and ask questions to get those ad hoc queries answered. I hope I answered that. I think Business Central, can you be more specific, like what it uses in the backend?
So it's basically you can think of it as a D365, like I mentioned.
Okay.
So it's Business Central is a small business version of it. So it's in CRM and ERP system which you have on cloud. So I think you have answered it. So basically, these systems they do not allow direct connection to the database because they are SaaS products. So we'll have to bring data somewhere using an ETL process and then run the queries. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, that's great.
Next question we have from Mr. Satish Kumar. Are you hosting your LLM on-premise? Do you use a vector database as part of your setup? Can somebody answer?
Yeah, so as of now, there's no vector database involved in this Casper setup, and we are not intending to use one. And LLM, no, we're not hosting them on premise. We are working with large language model APIs. Right now, we are using Azure AI Foundry, which allows you to access these APIs. So a lot of models from OpenAI are available. And then we have the functionality to integrate with Anthropic or Gemini models as well. So nothing is on-prem as far as the LLM is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think there are some questions in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'll come to
Maybe
the chat. I am in Q&A section, then I'll shift to chat. So the next question I have from Mr. Anuj, when you connect with multiple databases, how are you taking care of duplicate records or irrelevant data noise exists in the database? Basically, how will you get the clean data? Very good question.
Yeah, I think so. That will be part of the onboarding process. So obviously we would have to clean up the data. So whatever we feed to the LLM will get it out. So garbage in, garbage out. So I think the idea is that when you onboard the tool, we help you clean up the data, remove any duplicate records, and also provide a detailed business context to the LLM so that it can understand and create queries. So you do need to do some cleanup when you are onboarding the app.
Okay, great. So I think then I'll move to the chat window and then obviously I will unmute where hands are raised. So if I go to the chat window, I have a question. Let me start from the beginning. How is it different from ChatGPT? I think we answered that already. I think so. So this is something which you can connect. I think Kaustav, you have answered it already.
Yeah.
If you have a large data set, what is the average time? If a user already hit a question after some time, if user wants to get the data, then it's again hitting the SQL or is it caching? It's a good question. So if I ask a question, I get the answer, and then I ask again, are you going to hit the database again?
Yeah, so idea is yes, we hit the database again. So we are not caching any answers right now. All we are caching is the broader context of the chat. So what all is being talked about during this session, like which customer we are talking about, which months in particular, or which product we are trying to view. So these are some entities we store as cache. So we understand the user's context when they ask a question, but we don't store the answer that we get from the SQL. Because in the time, data can change, right? If you ask a question today and after 10, I don't know, after 2 or 3 hours, you ask the same question again, there are chances that data will change in those time periods. So it's always better to get the user the correct answer all the time.
Okay. Next we have is you have shown the chart feature. Can the chart type be changed? Deepak ji has
Yes.
this question.
So you can change. You can change if you want to see bar graphs, you can see them, line charts, pie charts. You can customize it how you want it to prepare those charts.
Next question is from Ashish Singh. Are there any predefined query we have set up to get the records or query will create on fly using LLM? So I think I can answer that. It will be created on the fly. We don't define the queries. That's the beauty. In
Yeah.
complex queries, do you suggest a single English sentence or broken into multiple sentences or performing calculations in multiple steps? That's from Mr. Amitabh. It's a very good question. What do you guys suggest something? If it is a complex query, I put everything in one go or I go step by step.
I think it depends upon the complexity of the database as well. So I think in our example, we had around 10 tables, and we did ask a complex query, right? It involved 3 or 4 steps that it had to do. So it was able to answer it. But I think to be on the safe side, it's always better to start with single queries. So you first get all the data with you, and then uh, you can ask it to customize it. And also, I think there are two parts. So one is the complexity of the data, right? How many tables you have, how many records you have, and then the ability of the LLM as well, right? How good is the LLM when it comes to understanding the context and creating the queries. So we can help you test different models based on your particular use case, which model suits you the best. Maybe in some cases, OpenAI O3 will work, or in some cases, Gemini would work better. So we can help you find that out for your particular business data.
Okay. Then the next question is, are you showing for cloud database how we use from local database, Mr. Anil Tripathi? So I think we can connect to the local database. I think that's the value we
Yeah.
bring. So we can securely connect it, like, maybe over a VPN channel or something, and we can connect to the local database. Why doesn't it respond in my language when I ask a question in my language? Pavindra, I think, mentioned already. You can set it up to answer in the same language you have asked question. Mr. Pawan is asking, I observed that LLM is only text-based. Is there a voice-based in the making, guys? Is Casper going to have voice soon?
We can note that down.
Yeah,
That's a good
definitely we can
feedback.
add that
Right.
feature. That's a good feature. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pawan. Mr. Anuj is asking, when you connect with multiple databases, how are you taking care? I think this already has, no, I don't think did we take this question already?
Yeah, in the Q&A we did. I think it's the same question he posted in the Q&A section.
It's basically taking care of duplicate records and data coming from multiple databases. I think it's related to cleaning up the data or something else. What do you think? I'll repeat the question. When you connect with multiple databases, how are you taking care of duplicate records or irrelevant data noise exists in the database? How will you get the clean data? I think we answered it just now.
Yeah.
Great. Can this run in air-gapped environments?
Yeah. So I think right now the tool, you can install it or configure it on your infra, be it on cloud or on-prem. But as of now, we connect with public models, right? We connect with Gemini or OpenAI, which are hosted on internet. But I think just yesterday, I think OpenAI also released their open model. So we can look into supporting self-hosted models as well. So to answer the question, the app can be configured to run on your infra, but we use public models for query generation. Yeah.
Okay. Next question I have from Mr. Gaurav, coming from a non-tech background and trying to understand our finance industry applications. Please clarify notable differences of leveraging a GPT versus natural LLM model Casper. So I think the answer, Mr. Gaurav, is that you can connect it to your own data. You can also, as we discussed, that Chat GPT, which I think is mostly utilizing RAG technology and obviously the other stuff, generative AI, and it sometimes doesn't work well with structured data, so you don't get answers. So you have more control, more security. It works on your data. You can customize it, and you get the right answers when you need it. And you don't rely on the internet information where you have a lot of misinformation. Okay, Mr. Deepak Rawal, do you need the database details for homegrown application? Yes. How much time needed to create the pipeline and cost? So I think, Mr. Deepak, we can connect with you. So what happens is it will all depend upon the current database structure, how clean is the data. So pipeline creation is something which is a special activity. So I think we can discuss over it. I'm not sure if we can answer it right now. We have billion of records. Yeah, I think that's great. So we have let's say we have billion of records, guys. Then how will it still be fast or will it be slow? Any
Yeah, so
strategy?
that will depend. So we can take a different approach for a scenario where there's billions of record because essentially the example, even the demo that you saw, right? So the query is running on the database itself. So it will depend on the performance and the capacity of the server. But let's say if you're using that database for running your app as well, then you don't want to overload the database, right? So we can build a separate database that is more optimized, and we can use, if it is actually big data, we can use big data frameworks as well. So the query time is actually really fast. So I think that's something we can use for this specific use case because you don't want to bombard queries on the database when it is being used by users as well. So that's something you'll have to do like a tailored solution. Yeah.
If I have a custom DB with around 1,000 tables, how much time it will take to implement this? What is the difference in Casper versus custom Microsoft Copilot agent connecting to my DB?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the first part we have already answered. Kaustav just answered. If you have thousands of tables, so we can look at other ways to optimize the speed. Coming to the next part, I think, you can create a custom agent with Copilot Studio. There is an option where you can connect it with your database. Two things: you need to So with Copilot agents, you need to define, right? You need to define how the queries will be converted into SQL. So maybe you need to write some Power Automate you need to use to send the user questions to the LLM to convert them, and then you need to pass it on to your SQL database to run. So there is some configuration required. So where Cazper comes in is it's a plug and play solution, right? You come in, you connect it with your DB, you give it the connection strings, it will automatically fetch the schema. If the column names are very good, it can also automatically add the business context on its own. Otherwise, you can add the business context, and that's all you need to do. So these are the only two things. So it's a very quick onboarding process, and you can start using it in a matter of days rather than having to configure the custom Copilot agent, which can take quite a lot of time.
Yeah. Okay. Next question I have for Mr. Prasad. What kind of pricing structure? So I can take this. So Mr. Prasad, as we said, there are two models, BYOC and SaaS. So pricing would be per user with the limited queries. So I think we can reach out to you to understand more. Like we see in the webinar also, there are a lot of questions about data cleaning and setting up another database or something. So I think we need to understand the environment and then plan the onboarding accordingly. So I think we'll reach out. Mr. Amitabh is saying, I think the same question is about the multiple queries broken into. So I think Parinder answered it. So it will depend upon how the database is set up, how the context is. But I think you will be able to answer, a complex query also.
Yes.
Mr. Rajan is asking, is my company's data ever used to train future AI models? That's the worry we all have.
Yeah, so I think I answered this in the chat as well. So we are not giving direct access to the database at all. So at any given point, LLM will not have direct access. So there's no way they can even train that. And as far as the queries that you ask, the questions, the interactions with Cazper, you do have the flexibility to host it in your own cloud environment where you are you have the full control. So you know that your data is not going anywhere. It is in your environment and the app is running in your environment. And if you want another level of security, you can host the LLM on-prem as well. So you can set up a server that has no connection to the internet at all. And you can host the LLM model locally as well, and you can use that too. So there's different levels that you can take if you are really if you want to go like very high level. So you can host the LLM locally as well, and then you use that as the LLM. So you are taking care of that completely. Yeah.
I think that's about it. I do not see any other question. We are already over time. If there is no other question, I think I would like to thank each one of you for your active participation and taking out time from your busy schedules. And thank you, team, Parvinder and Kaustav, for the detailed explanation. I really think that you all will find it insightful, and we hope to connect with you soon to take it forward. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.